You guys are just seriously impressive.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed our video of us doing donuts outside in the freezing cold. We're back inside in the warmth and want to go over kind of the differences between buying from an enthusiast, like you went on a forum or a Facebook group and found a car that someone really loved and pampered and knows everything about, and buying a car from a used car lot that really doesn't care about the car. So let's go through a few differences. Well, first of all, we got Chris's F80 here from an enthusiast. This guy was like very into his car, took care of it, like I'm sure you will because you're watching a video like this. And I got this Cayenne Turbo from a used car dealer who got it from a used car dealer, who got it from a used car dealer, who got it from some guy's wife who traded it in. So the used car dealer, as you can imagine, knows absolutely nothing about this car and is just trying to get top dollar from the initial visual of the car. Meanwhile, Chris's enthusiast owner is trying to get top dollar by knowing every little piece of this car in and out, knowing every modification he's done, knowing every service interval he's ever done, keeping track of when he farts in the seat and what kind of gas he uses, you know what I mean? So enthusiast takes care of every detail and wants to tell you about it. They're excited probably to get their new car. Meanwhile, a used car guy is probably, you know, this car was probably traded in needing some maintenance and they didn't want to do it before they sold it. So you're in a used car lot. Let's go first thing, buying a car from a used car lot. They probably just are gonna tell you, yeah, it's in perfect condition. It's great. Look how nice it is. So we bought this sight unseen, meaning all we did was have online pictures. If you're doing so, you wanna do the thing where you get the FaceTime on your phone going and you wanna walk around that car very closely and have them point out any defects, because we found a lot of paint chips, scratches, and repairs on this car that weren't mentioned. Live and learn. Chris did the same thing with his car and then actually saw it before he bought it. This car's immaculate. So after you do that, you want to check things like are the brakes needing replacement right away? I mean, who knows? Maybe they traded it in because they needed expensive brakes. The brakes in this car aren't cheap. You want to check the tires. Another thing. That's a good negotiation tactic. Does it need new tires already? You want to go through and open each door, lock and close each door, and you might get surprises like this. It doesn't work. The electric motors don't work. Did they tell me that? No, they just say, oh no, the trunk works. No, that doesn't work. Another thing you want to do is come inside and try all of your switches and buttons. Make sure all the windows go up and down, all that good stuff. For example, this car, this switch was broken, this switch was broken, and this one gets stuck. So you'll just end up crumpling into like the front of the steering wheel. So you want to keep track of these little things, especially as you're asking questions about the vehicle, so that you don't get hosed trying to repair these things later. Obviously these are like the boring things. This goes my little list right here. Oh, another great thing to do is make them start the car 3 times. Put it through 3 like little warm-up cycles. That way you can see if they're like hiding a check engine light. And that goes for an enthusiast too. I mean, usually an enthusiast is going to tell you though, because if he doesn't want his name tarnished on the internet. The internet for enthusiasts is kind of like their world. So most of those guys won't lie to you like that. Guys at a used car dealer, people are called used car salesmen for a reason. Okay, so you want to make sure you're not going to get hosed. Another thing you might want to check is if you have a dipstick, this one doesn't, is just pull the fluid, pull the dipstick to take a look at the oil, and also take a look at the coolant. Make sure there's no coolant mixing into the oil or oil mixing into the coolant. That would call for probably a blown head gasket.
Even if you don't have a dipstick, just like take the fill cap off.
Yeah.
Like you can look down in the fill cap hole, or if there's just a milkshake on the bottom of the fill cap hole, like that's an easy way to tell as well.
Gasket, yeah.
Yeah.
So and the car might idle fine with that, honestly. So you want to make sure, you just got to check that to make sure you're good. And this might sound like a lot. You might sound like you're being a jerk at a dealer, but really you're not. You're just doing your due diligence. A motor for this is like really expensive, so obviously you don't want to pay for that for no reason. And then when you go to test drive, you want to listen. You want to listen for clunks. You know, maybe the ball joints are bad. You want to make sure you go through all the gears, make sure there's no hard shifts, like the transmission's going out. You want to make sure the pedal travel isn't long, like something's wrong with the brakes. Is the alignment bad? Are you going to need alignment? Maybe that's due to the blown ball joints or something like that. Honestly, on most cars that over 60,000 miles, the shocks are going to be shot. I mean, shocks are a wear item. I talk to Chris about this all the time. No matter what you do to maintenance on your car, your shocks are going to wear out. It's just a thing of life. If you have over 60,000 miles, I pretty much guarantee 90% of shocks are toast.
It's just life. It's just life.
Fun fact, the Coney Yellow adjustable shock was actually created to make up for wear, not for adjustability. So that little thing where you increase your stiffness, that was to make up for the shock wearing out, not for sick mods. All right, so let's keep that in mind. And also you want to do drive modes. This car has airbag suspension, so it goes up and down. This one actually has an issue with the back corner with the airbag sinking and actually through an error. So make sure you go through all your drive modes before you buy it, just to make sure they're functioning as noted. And I mean, you know, I don't want to say all used car dealers are awful, but maybe they didn't check all the modes. I mean, I don't blame them. There's like 900 modes in this car. So maybe they didn't notice. But these are just things you want to, you know, take a look at. After you get your vehicle and you're all proud of it and you want to go drive it and rip it, there's certain things that you should do, kind of no matter what, because you don't know the service history of the vehicle or the Carfax, which tells me it got oil changes when it was new, like in 2014. You really know nothing. And especially if it's not being serviced at a dealer, nothing is kept track of, really. Unless you get a giant book of receipts, which is usually pretty rare. So things you want to do, I mean, obviously you want to change the oil just because, you know, start from square one. Probably need to change the air filters. Mine didn't look too bad, but throwing new ones in can't hurt. Another nice thing to do is a cabin air filter. Unless you kind of want to, unless you enjoy the stink of the previous owner, just throw a fresh one in there. It's like $12, you know what I mean? And these little mods just make you feel better about your car, make you more confident in it. You get your hands on, and you're kind of, you know, learning to gel with the car and kind of figuring out what it wants. Other things you can do, spark plugs, especially on a turbo motor. They really wear the plugs out faster. Just throw some fresh plugs in it, not expensive. Most people can DIY it with the help of YouTube. All of our windshield wipers were literally string keys. So just throw some fresh wipers on it. These are the little things that kind of like bring you back to baseline that necessarily, you know, don't need to be perfect for a used car dealer to sell it, but for daily use, like you obviously want proper windshield wipers. Yeah, so just keep up on your maintenance. Start, you know, Googling things that might be wrong. Just the little things like, oh, this popped in now. I think they're jammed. So before these were loose, like they were trying to spray. So maybe they're jamming up, and they need to get cleaned out. There's a million little things, guys. You are buying a used car, but a car like this, you know, was $120,000 new, and now they're selling for under 40. So you have to expect that some things can be wrong. If you're buying from a used car dealer, I would give yourself a safety margin for money left over. So if you have a budget, let's just say $25,000, don't go to a used car dealer and spend $25,000. Maybe spend 20, so that you have that $5,000 to fix things that are, I mean, I don't want to say they're going to go wrong, but have
get ahead of the game.
You want to be ahead. You don't want to put yourself in a corner. So even if your budget's $50,000, leave yourself maybe 5, 10. You know, leave yourself that margin. It depends on depends on the cost of the parts. For example, an airbag for this car is already $1,000. So there's ways to make it cheaper and whatnot, but especially if you're not DIYing it, you want to leave yourself margin because these things are going to cost you money to replace. On Chris's car, it's like it's a totally different story. So I don't know, maybe I'll have Chris go over his car and you guys can...
yeah, we can trade.
Yeah, we'll trade, and he can go through what his experience was like buying it from an enthusiast who kind of knew everything about his car versus mine, which was traded between like 18 used car dealers before it actually met me. So Chris is on the internet and he finds his
hardcore on the Facebook marketplace. Obviously, like, it was a sweet buyer's market right now, so there was a bunch of cars for sale. I really didn't know if I wanted an F80 or F82. I mean, they're basically the same car, but I was like, 4 doors. I think this one looks better.
Yeah, I like the flares on this one.
It was the first time, like, this was honestly the first big car purchase. Like, it's obviously not brand new from a dealership. I didn't, like,
for both of us.
$1 million, but like...
Chris and I both drive beaters before this. I drove a Honda Fit and Chris drove a E46.
I paid $3,000 for it, right? And when you buy a $3,000 car, you're like, I don't really care. But like, when you're spending a good chunk of money, you're like kind of nervous at first. So
yeah,
like,
definitely.
And you know, there was a bunch of dealers out there, but I wanted something that, you know, already had some mods just a little bit.
This one came with quite a few, to be honest.
It did have more mods than I was expecting, but the market was sweet and the price was right. So I was like, and the guy had so much information. So again, like, the difference between enthusiast and not, right? Like, these guys have stacks of paper. He's like, all right, I bought the car with 16,482 miles on it. I drove it for 812 miles, and then I was like, I want a downpipe. So I did downpipes. And then I drove it for another 382 miles, and I was like, time for some intakes. And then I drove it this long, and then I got tuned. So like, that's the difference, right? Like this guy is super proud of his car. He has everything written down. Like Mike said, he knows how many times he farted in the car, right? So when you're getting that, you can feel comfortable about buying a modified car from an enthusiast. So kind of puts your mind at ease. But
and he was going to upgrade. He wasn't necessarily getting rid of it because there's maintenance costs coming up.
Yeah.
Like this car could have easily been.
Yeah, right. Like they might have taken it and like saw that the service light for the bag was on, and they're
just like, I'm getting rid of it. I'm gonna get a new one.
I want a new Porsche, right? Like this guy just was like every M car owner and was just like, it's time for me to buy a 911.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're like, okay, sweet. So right, like he didn't even want to sell. I don't even think this car was listed. I had posted that I wanted to buy a car, and he had messaged me. A bunch of people reached out, but when dealing with these guys, right, like this. So this was in Virginia, right? I flew to Virginia. Bought the car, sight unseen basically, but like I left myself the buffer. Like if I got there and it turned into a total disaster, I was just hopping back on a plane.
Yeah.
But obviously it's not the case. So like, right, like I FaceTime with the guy, right? Where you get to meet the guy, you get to understand, you get his Instagram, his Facebook, he shows you everything he's done with the car. You can walk around, right? Like Mike said, with starting the car 3 times, the guy's like, why? I'm like, well, because if you cleared codes because of O2 sensors, right, like it's gonna come on the second start. That's just like how the key cycles work for an ECU. So doing that a few times, right, like he should want to do that, right? Like he's not trying to hide anything. He's like, all right, this is weird. But
that's the thing. You might feel like a jerk, but don't feel that way.
Yeah, and if you're just you're just chit-chatting with another guy, so right. Like,
yeah, you're with a car guy.
Okay,
you're with a car guy.
He's a car guy, and you know he's.
I don't think my used car dealer guy knew anything about cars, honestly.
No, probably not. Or like that specific car, right? Like most car dealerships, they either get a car.
Well, my car dealer guy might be a Chevy guy. Yeah, so he doesn't know anything about the Porsche.
Porsches, they want
but the enthusiast, the guy knows exactly about his car and every little detail. What goes wrong? I mean, this thing's beautiful inside.
And so, right, like this has a tune on it. So, like after I flew in, met the guy, we walked around the car. Obviously, it was everything I had already seen already. But then we just hop on the laptop, right? You open boot mode, boot mod, whatever you want to call it for this car, and you can look at the tune, you can look at everything, you can pull up whatever you want to see the tune, you can drive it live. MHD, right? Just plug in your tablet, you can do a pull and you can be like, okay, AFRs are good, let's look at a log, right? Like there's a lot more in-depth things you can do from an enthusiast that are going to make you feel more comfortable about buying a modified car.
We've seen some cars come in here that people just bought, they were running like 40 PSI N54s, and they were just totally toast.
Yeah, and a guy who's like, I don't understand why it's smoking. Like you're going through and you're like, all right, well, what are you running? Oh, a single turbo with 38 PSI. I'm like, well, there's your problem. Stock motor? Like, do you have rings left? No.
No, like, and then I saw him on the road, and she was smoking. She was smoking. I just happened to see the customer on the road.
Yeah, lots of black smoke.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, other things like when you're driving the car, right? Like, obviously, it makes a boatload of power. Like, one thing I didn't get. So the car came on R888s. Like it's Virginia, they don't get a lot of snow. He didn't drive this thing if it was raining.
Yeah. I don't even know what tires are on mine. I think they're like Continentals or some random tire.
Yeah, it had really nice signature wheels and R888. So when you're driving, R888s are not the greatest tire. There's a lot of road noise. So I'm like, okay, there's a lot of road noise, whatever. It's R888 life. Okay. I throw on the winters and I'm like, oh, there's a wheel bearing out. So, not everything is perfect.
No.
But at the end of the day, right, like you can drive the car. Like,
well, that's the thing too. Like I think probably your seller probably didn't even notice the wheel bearing because the R888s are so loud.
They're just so loud.
And it wasn't like, it's not like terminal, like you can't drive the car wheel bearing, but it's like it needs a wheel bearing.
Yeah, whatever. It's a cheap part, but like again, if you're doing it yourself, it's just things to check out.
So I mean, obviously things aren't perfect compared to the used car versus enthusiast.
Definitely not saying.
But you're much better off, I think, talking with someone who is an owner and an enthusiast versus, of course, dealing with someone who's maybe not too familiar with your platform that you're really interested in as an enthusiast. Obviously, this doesn't really apply to like if you're a soccer mom looking for a new minivan, you're not really going to find the enthusiast seller of the whatever they call them, these Pacificas these days, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But for sports cars and sports SUVs and whatever,
Yeah. And I even, we are enthusiasts, obviously. We own shop, we own race cars and stuff. I could tell you every single detail about an E82 or an E92. Literally everything.
I can do the same for E46.
And Mike is an E46 guru. When it comes to F80s, I don't know a lot. I know enough to be dangerous, but I don't know the ins and outs of
which hose is the one that leaks the most often? Do expansion tanks blow up like E46s on these? I don't know.
Like there's a catch can down here. I'm used to mine being over there. So there is definitely some things that you're not going to be totally comfortable when buying a car, but you can use the list that we're going to post in the description to be able to go through your basic checks, right?
Yeah.
Just to try to.
Which some of this is the same as the used car dealer. Like,
possible.
obviously, make sure the tires are good. Make sure,
right.
like,
You can shake the tires and kick the tires and stuff. But like an Enthusiast, right? Like, it's probably more negotiation, right? If the R888s are completely blown, then like you're like, dog, I'm not paying you full. Like, it needs tires immediately.
Yeah,
like,
unless he notes that ahead of time. I mean,
and maybe it was in the for sale post, or maybe he was just beating the crap out of the car for the last day that he owned it, right?
Yeah,
like
he's just like, I did 10 donuts.
Yeah, he's like, so right, like you can negotiate a little bit more, and because you're going to be a little bit pickier, right? A used car dealer for, the Cayenne's going to come on some Continentals that
they got
probably have 60% life
some
left,
random
which
tire
is their
shop.
minimum threshold, and like, they're not going to be like, oh, well, you don't like Continentals, like I'm not giving $1,000 off. Whereas I'm like, you can do some of that stuff with an Enthusiast.
And overall, I think we're both super happy with our purchases, though. And
I couldn't be more ecstatic. The fact that like driving an E46 versus driving this is just
different game.
And it's funny because like a lot of people love old BMWs. They're the mechanical feel. It's the driving experience. These things are fucking sweet.
I just like it when
that gets in these and it's just like the steering is too numb between 1 and 3. Like you're just like hating to hate.
I just like hitting bumps and not having things like clunk.
Yeah, it's
like,
freaking sweet.
Oh, that's nice.
Do I love driving the E46?
Yeah.
Sure, but like this is better in just about every single way possible.
Yeah. So whether you're buying a used car from an Enthusiast or used car dealer, there's certain things you should keep track of. So take a look at our description. We're gonna have some tips down there too.
Yeah.
We hope this helps you, buy the Enthusiast car of your dreams, because right now it is a buyer's market.
It is definitely a buyer's market.
Get out there. Maybe even wait for Carvana to collapse. It could happen any day now. So
definitely happening.
Yeah,
just you're gonna bug him. It's gonna feel weird at first, but like you want to ask him.
It's like buying a small house.
Don't be too excited, right? Like you're getting your dream car. Like you're super excited, but don't like let that like just glaze over the fact that like there might be some defects, because there's always another car out there, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're probably not getting the end all be all.
I had that feeling too. I got so excited. I lasered in.
Yeah, you're just like, this is perfect. It's the color I want with the interior I want.
So the main thing Chris wanted here was the mods with the color and the interior, and the main thing I wanted was mileage. I wanted low mileage.
Yeah, right. Like this has 80,000 miles, but the guy has no kids or anything.
Yeah, so like the interior's new.
Literally never been used.
Yeah.
It's driven to work. It's
mine was from Texas with 57,000.
Yeah, but like you literally can't tell.
And that's one more thing to look at. If you're buying a car, especially in the Rust Belt, especially if you're up here in Michigan, these are tips that can be done over the phone, FaceTime with dealers from the South, with cars that don't have any corrosion. Like this car has no corrosion. This car has almost no corrosion too.
No, yeah,
I mean, they're both not snow cars. So if you're in the north, like we are, use the internet to your advantage.
Yeah, just use and abuse.
Yeah.
There's deals out there, and just do your due diligence as
Yeah,
much as you
and
can.
like Chris selling his wheels that were in the previous video. Watch our previous video on donuts, and got these wheels for only $1,000 on Facebook Marketplace. They're from an M5 with almost new snow tires.
Yeah,
how can you beat that?
Paid $1,000 for them, and I don't think you could buy the tires or the wheels individually for $1,000.
Yeah, so there are deals, and this wasn't even like he planned this out. Like he just went on Facebook Marketplace. Oh look, wheels.
Yeah, I was just like, I want some stock wheels for out there. It was sweet.
Yeah. So.
One last thing. So let's go look at the pile. This is what you could probably expect when you do buy it.
Oh yeah.
From an Enthusiast. So,
this is all the parts that came with Chris's car.
This was loaded in the back seat. So obviously, like stock downpipes, exhaust, springs.
These cats are worth big money now. Like, by the way, guys.
Yeah, true. Intakes, like the top mount intercooler, the front radiator for that, the stock turbos. I have a box from FCP, which is always a good sign.
Yeah. I
have stock injectors. I have literally coils.
Are those new coils? Or they're the old ones?
These are the old ones that he just kept.
Wow, so he didn't even he's replacing parts when they're probably still good.
Yeah, and like for just keeping these, in case one coil fails on him, he can throw one back.
And that's the difference.
Right?
I can guarantee no parts were changed for fun on this car.
No, there's like
they were only changed for necessity.
Here, oil filters that he just bought. So there's the top mount intercooler still. So you get all of this.
Why didn't my car come with this stuff?
She bought from a used car dealership.
Darn it.
A Porsche Cayenne Turbo Enthusiast.
Yeah.
Which are probably out there somewhere.
There's a few. not so much for this model, but for the older models. But I think it's coming with this model. So we're getting ready.
It's just like everyone moving to the F80.
Yeah.
Everyone's always moving. You know, the super enthusiasts are always moving to the next platform as it comes back down. And then this one, both of these look like the brand new models, right?
Yeah.
You're not like driving a $3,000 E46 M3 versus like a G80 M3 that's $109,000, right?
Yeah.
The middle ground now is much more level, so you can get in basically a brand new car for the middle ground price. And don't be scared, this is not going to depreciate anymore.
It really
hit their depreciation shelves. Both these cars.
I mean,
you could drive these for 3.
That's the thing.
years.
I let someone else pay the depreciation. Essentially, we're driving fancy cars while we didn't pay any of the depreciation. And I mean, if they depreciate $5,000 in 2 years. Guess what, guys?
We drove the cheapest car payment you've ever had.
Yeah, I think kind of the only car. I think probably the best buys these days is like a GTR or a Lotus. Those seem to be appreciating no matter what you do. But I mean, I can't really go wrong with any of these guys. So, yeah. Well, thanks for tuning in, guys.
Yeah. So link will be in the description. We'll just have literally everything. Our list that we go through when we talk to people. Just copy and paste it. Put it on your phone. Right?
Yeah. Good idea.
Go through, check all the boxes, do your due diligence, and yeah, you're going to be super happy with your purchase.
Yeah, so either whether it's used car dealership or an enthusiast, get the car of your dreams.
It's out there. Take advantage. So, all right, guys, thanks for checking in, and just like and subscribe. We're almost at 5,000 subscribers. That's our 2023 Christmas miracle.
Well, it's past Christmas, so we're going New Year miracle now.
New Year's miracle.
I didn't know that was a thing, but it is now.
It's a thing, but we're making it up.
All right, peace, guys.
All right, later, guys.